Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom. And today I thought we would revisit an old favourite of mine, which is a beautiful butterfly Brilliance stamp set with the coordinating dies, and I'm combining it with texture chic paper, which is this beautiful gold foil paper from the annual catalogue, and you see super colours. It goes with the Season of Chic bundle with the stamps and dies, which I'm not going to use those today. But you can see on the one side you've got lovely colours, soft succulent evening evergreen, and beautiful gold foiling, and then on the reverse kind of all seasons paper. So these ones are sort of this one's probably my favourite, with sort of petal pink in there. But you'll see that actually the colours, oh there you go, there's the last one, lovely foiling. The last so I'm using it to create this beautiful gatefold card, which is a bit of a spread. So on the front, yes, it's lovely, it's pretty, and I've used the Charming Sentiments for the sentiment, which is this great $1 million sell set, sentiments for everything, but you can get it with these fabulous dies that coordinate as well, so no more fussy cutting. So if you don't like fussy cutting, this is the die set for you. Anyway, back to the card. So that's the sentiment, but when you open it up, here's the wow. You've got these lovely floating butterflies, and the way I've created this, they actually stand further forward. They're not just a standard pop-up, and then say you close it back up, and on the reverse you can write your message. But obviously when it opens up, you can display it like so, and they really look as if they're floating. And you can see they too have a little bit of gilding on them as well. And I've used the lovely brass butterflies just to add a bit of interest to the inside there. Okay, so let's get started then. A few techniques that we're going to do. So you're going to need your blending brushes and some inks deeper. So I'm going for this paper here, simply because I've got quite a bit of it. And I think this is more of a Blushing Bride than a Petal Pink in here. So I'm going to go for Mango Melody and Blushing Bride, and let's see how it turns out. I'm going to still use that same dotted one for the inside. I think that's so pretty, and again that still works with our Blushing Bride here. So we're going to have our centre panel, which will be this, then we're going to have some Mango Melody on the front with our DSP on there as well. So Mango Melody, it's not a colour I use very often. I find it quite a strong colour, but yeah, let's see how we go. So the first thing you want to do is just grab yourself a quarter sheet or thereabouts of some basic white cardstock. You're going to want blending brushes for each of your colours. So as I say, I've got Blushing Bride here and Mango Melody. So I have got a brush, kind of one for pinks, one for oranges. This is my pinky coloured one. So I'm just going to come in and add some splashes of colour, and it really doesn't matter if it's not blended. Usually I'd be saying come in off the edge to avoid those harsh lines, but it really doesn't matter in this instance because we're going to be die cutting them out afterwards. And I'm doing this bit first because we want to make sure that our gilding flakes have a chance to be properly dry before we complete our card. So you can see I'm just coming in and just blending that quite sort of randomly over there. Put that to one side. I'm going to grab my oranges to brush, first a Mango Melody. Again, just coming in and kind of where I've left it a little bit lighter. But what you want is a nice sort of background that's got colour, and I'm keeping it so I haven't sort of got much white in there. Okay, so once we've done that, we now want to die cut our butterflies for the inside of our card. So the fabulous thing about Butterfly Brilliance is that with the dies, butterfly wings dies, you've got these individual butterflies along with the big die to cut out the stamped images. So I went for this larger one and I think I went for these two next. So I'm just going to pop those, doesn't matter where they go, I'm just going to pop those onto my stamped and blended card. And the only reason I'm adding a bit of tape here is because I don't want them to move when I put them through the die cutting machine and move into each other. Simple as that, because you could obviously be a bit more frugal with your card, but I'm leaving plenty of space around it. So pop that through your die cutting machine, probably a couple of times, rotating slightly. So if it goes through first in that direction, angle it slightly or put it through. What you don't want to put is as a hard edge. So I always try and angle it slightly before I put it through. So when you've put them through your die cutting machine, just flip them over and make sure it's cut kind of all the way through. And you'll see on these two, I'm quite happy that that's kind of cut all the way through, and they should just pop out quite easily. Apart from that one, of course, it's not going to. There we go. This one I'm looking at and I'm thinking, actually here it hasn't cut as well. So I'm going to put that through separately. When you look on the reverse, you can see I've got really dark cut lines there. Then just run, while it's in your hand, run it over with your brush and get out all those little pieces, and you'll then have your lovely multicoloured die cut butterfly. So repeat with all of your others. As I said, I happen to have one of the original die brushes left, but the take your pick tool is really useful if you've got that brush attachment. So again, take out any other little pieces, and then our third one, again. And the beauty of doing it into your hand is that not as much goes onto the floor. I say not as much because, do you know what? You can tell when I've been crafting with die cuts. Okay, so there we go. So there's our third one. So we've got 3 pretty butterflies. So now what I want to do is add those gilding flakes. So to do that, I'm just going to take my silicone mat and I'm just going to add a little bit of Tombow into the corner. Not very much at all. Take an old scrap of sponge and just dab that over, and then I'm just going to dab quite randomly over these die cuts. Might even add a tiny bit more. Just in places, so it's as random as that. Once you've done that, take your gilding flakes. Now I keep mine in a box. There's a reason for that, because they get everywhere. But what that means is I end up with some little bits in the bottom, and all you're going to do is simply stick your die cuts face down into those bits and just move it around until it's not sticky. So all those little bits that you can never get back into the box, here's how to use them up. So again, just keep dabbing those in there until that's no longer sticky. And then once you've done that, I have these little scrubby sponges which you can get. They're from a particular brand that I had previously. And then you just scrub. Well, it's not even scrub. I mean, it's a little bit like a scourer, really. Obviously a nice clean one. You don't want to use one that you've used for your dishes. And just brush that, and then you'll find you've got these lovely gilded accents on your butterflies without it being solid. I mean, obviously you could use multi-purpose sheets if you wanted a solid gold, but I wanted kind of something that had that slight feel of texture. And if you're not happy with it at the end, then you can obviously go through and just add some more glue and just pop some more gilding flakes on afterwards. This is why Gilding Flakes last forever. Okay, so there we go. And obviously if you haven't got a box like that, then you just take a piece of the Gilding Flake and pop it over the top and then rub it away. But there we go, that's my use for those. Pop that to one side, that's going to need washing, really easy to get that clean. Okay, so we've got our 3 gilded butterflies. Now what I want to do is create our butterflies for the front of the card. And for that I'm going to use my Stamparatus. So what I've done is I've added that already on the inside of my Stamparatus. So I've already added my stamp set to the Stamparatus here, and I'm going to use my Mango Melody for my butterflies, and I've got a piece of card, just basic white, and it's about 16.5 by 12.5 that I'm going to be using. And just kind of make sure your card's in the right place. Move that over very slightly. I did line it up, there we go. And the beauty of the Stamparatus obviously is that if you've got dexterity issues, then you can just come back in and do and stamp over it again. So I'm just taking ink pad to Stamparatus all the way over there, and then just take it over and give it a press down. Now you'll see here, I'm just going to come in and I just put it out, extra little bit of pressure. Make sure they're all there. Oh, it's obviously fouled slightly against my, there we go, against my magnets. I've just gone in again. So as you can see, all done. Pop that to one side now. I'm going to close my ink pad up because I've already got it all over me, and then come in with this lovely big die. This cuts really easily in just a single cut. What you need to do is just line it up so that all your butterflies are beautifully outlined. As I said, I grab a little bit of tape just because I know what I'm like. I knock it, doesn't matter, I put it through. Keep that in place, and let's pop that through our die cutting machine. So once you've put that through your die cutting machine, you've got your butterflies, and you want to keep them in the die still, because I'm then going to come in. We've used Mango Melody, and what I want to do is just grab my Blushing Bride again and just come in and add some colour to those butterflies, and I'm just using a couple of them on the front. I might use more slightly, so I might use this extra one, and just adding some ink to more than I actually need. And by doing it while they're still in the die, what you end up with is a clearer white outline. On my original one I didn't, and I kind of ended up with ink on the outside edge, which I didn't necessarily want, and I just thought it looked so much better when you'd still got that nice white edge. Now obviously these butterflies, they're far more than I need to use, so I can keep those for another project. You know me, in my little pouch I keep myself a nice little pouch of all sorts of butterflies ready for the next occasion, for those quick card making times. And being a big stamp set, I just keep that all together in there. Okay, so now we have our butterflies for the inside, our butterflies for the out, and all I'm going to do is line it up, and you could do it depending on how much space you've left. I'm going to line mine up on this side and just hold that in place, and it obviously doesn't matter too much with this if it's not straight. And I'm just going to ink this left hand edge this bottom bit of my my basic white, and this layer of basic white is 9.5 by 14 centimetres. I'm actually going to move that across slightly. I want to leave myself some space for a sentiment. I don't want it to dominate, especially being Manga Melody, it's quite strong. And I'm just going to come in just need about a little tiny bit more ink. There we go. Okay, so obviously with Stamparatus, because that's a plastic surface, you can just wipe that down when you've finished, when you clean your stamps as well. So there's my panel for the reverse. Here are my other pieces. So now we can get on with the card construction itself. So the pieces you're going to need a piece of your card base, which is 20 by 14.5. You want a piece of DSP that's 9.5 by 14 centimetres. You want 2 pieces of card for the front layers, which are 4.5 by 14, and 2 pieces of DSP, which are 4 by 13.5. You also want a piece of card that is 6 by 11 centimetres. And we're going to score that first, then cut it into the strips for the inside. You're also going to want a scrap for our sentiment. So the card itself is a very straightforward gatefold card. So your 20 centimetres, you're just going to score at 5 and at 15, or 5 centimetres each side. I have done this in inches, so if you work in inches, just have a look in the description box below this video, and if you look somewhere around here, there'll be a little sort of wide V or a more. Click on more and scroll down, you'll find the dimensions. So that's as simple as that is. For our pop outs, we're going to score at 1, at 3.5, at 9, and at 10. And then, as I said, just cut that into 2 centimetre strips. Now, if you wanted to, you could obviously decorate these with a bit of extra DSP as well. Okay. Let's add my card to the back. And we'll add our layers. I could have used the reverse of this. The flowers would have been rather nice with this, but I love the gold on it, and I wanted to kind of echo that with my butterflies as well, which I seem to be losing all over the place. Trying to keep it all in view for you so you know what you're working with. And once that's done, making sure it's in the right orientation, obviously, we can add our DSP to the inside. Like so. So now, while that's in place, we can decorate the front here. So all I did was I just kind of worked out very roughly where my butterfly might be, and I just cut at an angle on the side, like so. On that one I'm actually going to cut a touch more. Yeah, and so again, this echoes the kind of where those butterflies are going to be as well. And what I'm trying to do is make sure that I've kind of got all my elements in place before I add my mechanism, which often I'll do my mechanism first, but in this instance you want to kind of get it decorated before you do that. And the beauty of doing it this way is that you can just stick these butterflies on flat as well. Okay, so our card is starting to come together, as you can see. I've come in from the middle instead, but you could obviously have it going the other way, but that way we've got some butterflies floating around. So now on to the next bit. Now for this I would really recommend that you use either our Seal Plus or some kind of what I call red liner tape. You want to, because this is a moving part, you really want a very good adhesion. Yeah. You want it to stick really firmly, and likewise you want to reinforce these score lines as well. So once those are all done, let's grab our red tape and get this on there. So you're putting your super sticky bit on the two narrow tabs that are close together at one end, and on the opposite end the other narrow tab. So these are sort of 1 centimetre bits, so those will be about 1/2 inch or 3/8 of an inch on if you're working in inches. But you've got two narrow score sections at one end and you've got one at the other end. And you do that on all 3 pieces. So making sure your card's in the right orientation. What you're going to do is you're going to take at the narrow, where there's the 2 pieces, you're going to fold those in half and line that up about 2 centimetres, 1.5 centimetres from the top, like so, against the score line, and close it up. So you'll see it's stuck to the back and to the flap. Repeat that at the bottom. Obviously you could have it on the other side if you wanted to. Okay, again press that down, like so. And then you're going to pop one in the middle on the opposite side. Now we're going to fold those in. And what you want to do is on that second, that's the second score line. And I'm doing them one at a time just to make sure. So just make sure it's nice and flat and press. And the same on our lower one. Fold it on that second score line. Fold it in and press. And if you need to, you can reinforce those score lines again now. And then the same on the other side. Second score line, fold it in and press. So now we've got our floating elements ready to add our butterflies to. Now with this, I would recommend you use glue dots, and I'm using up some from one of my Stampin' Up kits. So I'm just going to add to the body of my big butterfly first a couple of glue dots, just to make sure, she says. Probably would have been easy to use my other ones. There we go. Okay. And you want this to sit in the middle, so just make sure that you tuck it in and that it's not going to foul on this side here. So you kind of want the body lining, if you're using the big one, want the body lining up. You can see, so there's space for it. And press that down. And you'll see now that pops out. I'm going to do the same with these other two. So again, this is where the glue dots are better because you're not going to get, and I'm putting them in the centre, hopefully you can see. Because you don't want any kind of glue oozing out and then making your card fold stick together. Okay, so again, so with that closed, I'm just going to look and kind of go, again, we don't want it poking out of the top. So this is kind of the trickiest bit probably. Pop that. There we go. Like so. And I've obviously not quite pushed that in far enough. And then our last one is going to go on the bottom there as well. So again, a couple of glue dots. And that's where the bodies on these are great for adding those. Okay. Just pop that in there. And there we have our double pop out or triple pop out butterfly card ready to add our sentiment. So all we need to do is pop that on there as well, and you could always add a butterfly in the centre there too. And I think we could add that in the centre too. I'm just going to add that butterfly with some adhesive. You could use dimensionals if you wanted to. But I'm keeping the glue to the one side, and I'm just going to pop that in the middle there. There we go. I feel I'm much happier with that. I've got space up here for my sentiment. But there we go. We've got a really pretty pair of flying butterfly cards. So I hope you enjoy. All you need to do now, add your sentiment and add your brush butterflies if you want to the inside, and you're good to go. If you'd like to purchase any of the items you've seen here, just pop along to Stampin' Up and choose me as your demonstrator, Heidi Smith, when you come to check out. I'd be really appreciative. It means I can send you a little thank you gift the following month. And any questions, just let me know. Thanks everyone. Bye now.